Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to the LOL Pro League. My name is Rapid, with me is Siglas, and we're into game number 2 between Virtus.Pro and TBS. It's Thunderbot Sparta, somewhat favored coming into this matchup, but dropping game number 1 to an incredibly strong performance on Kassadin by Pieter Pokier. One misplaced ward in the Baron pit, and a great way to finish the game. Very strong. Virtus.Pro coming to game number 2, and no surprise to see a Kassadin ban out of Thunderbot.
No surprise at all. That was just dominating last game. He did so well, and really, had it not been for how well Kassadin did, I think that game would have looked a lot different. Obviously, the composition from Virtus.Pro shouldn't really have kicked it into overdrive until a bit later than they did, but because Kassadin got so fed, they were able to play the mid game as if they'd hit the late game, basically. So really, this game, if VP go for a similar composition, we need to see Thunderbot Sparta not really lose out as much as they did last game. There were a bunch of misplays early on. For example, Steve falling 1 versus 1 against Jinx in that bot lane, losing the tower. Things like that, as they build upon each other, can result in you losing a game.
Now coming in here to the second picks and ban phase, it's going to be interesting to see what both teams prioritize, because let's talk about what went well for Thunderbot last time. The Lee Sin pick worked super well for Sean's. He was able to get some great roams off, and the Fizz pick mid initially went well for his Starry, but unfortunately was unable to really have the same effect on the game that Kassadin did. So mid lane picks are going to be very, very crucial in this draft, so it's interesting to me to see the first pick prioritizing the support Janna on Virtus.Pro.
Yeah, I guess maybe they don't want to do what they did last game, which is kind of show their strategy so early. Last time round, they picked Karthus within their first 2 picks, and at that point, you know that your enemies are going for something a little bit later. You can pick an early game team, which is what they did. Unfortunately, the execution just wasn't there in order to actually counter the Karthus. But this time round, Virtus.Pro are being a little bit more subtle about what they're going for. They're locking in something that could be a little bit more diverse in its uses straight away. And they're also not offering any opportunity for a counter lane to come out in this first rotation of picks. So, it'll be interesting to see if they get punished for picking that Janna. Obviously, Sean's locking in Lee Sin and Steve locking in Maokai are 2 fairly strong power picks that are now not available for Virtus.Pro.
And I really, really like that Lee Sin pick for Sean's. I think it adds a lot of security to Thunderbot, because it allows them to just know, hey, at least this one thing is going to work. But the interesting thing for me is, at least in North America, you'd see a lot more jungle bans out there. But with that's completely off the map. It's just all about the top lane, the mid lane, and of course a AD carry and support ban, just for some variety. But this time it's the Graves picked up by Vincent Vega. Last time he went with the Jinx instead, and really showed that No-No's Graves just didn't live up to the hype. But this time around, Thunderbot Sparta aren't playing with Hercubot, their owner, anymore in the bottom lane. They've added their usual support of Lunette, and if there's one thing you can say about Lunette, is that he is a stellar support player, formerly of the French team Cypher, if you guys have been watching League of Legends for a very long time. But it's great to get him back on the lineup, so back together, TBS at full strength coming in here to game number 2.
Yeah, and they're going to need their full strength. Virtus.Pro put up an amazing showing last time, and this is make or break for TBS. If they lose this game, well, not make or break, this is make or break for their opportunity to continue through the winner's bracket. If they fall out of this, they go into the lower bracket, they're going to have more opportunities to try and win the tournament. But on the flip side of that, they really want to be winning this in order to get to that winner's bracket final against the winner of Aces High versus Rock's Kiss, because that is their best route into the finals. Soraka, that's an interesting pickup here. Actually, I kind of like the Soraka pickup against the Janna Graves lane. You're going to get poked a lot in that lane, and the sustain is going to be really, really nice. The problem is that if you fall behind with a Soraka, it doesn't really do that much later on if you're not already ahead. So we're going to need to see Sean's making some plays. It's going to be important that Steve doesn't fall behind in lane, and Lunette, he's got to lock in the mid laner for a Starry next, and that's going to be a big swinging factor for TBS. Can they get a mid laner that can put them far enough ahead in the early game that they can really capitalize on the fact that Soraka can just snowball them through fights later on?
Yeah, it's all about that counter matchup, and with the Xerath locked in, it's going to be relatively easy, honestly, to counter that matchup. All you have to do is pick either like an Ari or a LeBlanc or something with a lot of engage there in the mid lane, and Vincent Vega, or rather Pieter Poker, could have his hands full of a matchup he does not want. Locking on the Malphite, though, is kind of interesting. I've never watched Malphite versus Maokai up in the top lane before, just because Malphite not a common champion that you see out there all that much. So excited to see how that's going to work out for Power of Dreams. And honestly, a mid lane matchup, like we said, is going to be the big one. So what does Lunette lock in for Astari?
Yasuo would be a very interesting one. There are several knockups that he can capitalize on in order to get that last breath off, but if he goes for Yasuo, then I have a feeling Power of Dreams is going to kind of ruin his day. Malphite is really good against the champion, reduces your attack speed, which simultaneously reduces the cooldown on your Howling Gale piercing ability, your Q. So it's going to be a little bit hard for him if he goes for that. He does go for the LeBlanc in the end, though. I like that a lot more. It's going to be a lot better at dominating this middle lane, especially. And if LeBlanc gets ahead, then having that Soraka is going to be great, because if they get hard engaged on the late game, they're just going to be able to heal up and do too much damage for VP to really deal with.
Yeah, Soraka heals are ridiculous, but Caitlyn as an AD carry when Corki's left open still leaves me questioning a little bit on that pick. But one of the picks that I do really love for Thunderbot Sparta is the LeBlanc versus Xerath. It's a matchup that we actually got a chance to see played at Intel Extreme Masters San Jose. It was Power of Evil, not Power of Dreams, who completely destroyed Bjergsen's Xerath in that mid lane matchup between Unicorns of Love and TSM. So excited to see how this matchup works out, how this game works out, because it's one game away from Virtus.Pro advancing to the finals, face I believe the either Aces High or Rockskiss.
All right, well, we're about to go to a quick music break, but we'll see you guys on the other side for the second game of our winners bracket match between Virtus.Pro and Thunderbot Sparta.
Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to the League of Legends Pro League Season 2. It's a little bit of a mouthful, but we're here in game number 2 between, honestly, teams that I thought would be more evenly matched. And in game 1, while it may have started out that way, Virtus.Pro completely dominated Thunderbot Sparta in the end of the game, culminating with a great pick at the Baron. We'll see how game number 2 works out. My name is Rapid, with me is Siglas. We're hopping into, like I said, a second game of the series. A little bit of a strong invade here from Virtus.Pro.
Yeah, they're forcing Sean's back here. Obviously, Astari doesn't want to walk up either. And for a moment, I was having flashbacks to the Flash Nami exhaust, but nothing quite that crazy going to come out from VP. They're in the driver's seat. They don't really need to try and make anything too crazy happen here. They just need to play a solid game in order to advance to the next best of 3 of the winners bracket between them and either the winner of this and the winner of Rockskiss versus Aces High. Steve and Power of Dreams duking it out a little bit in that top lane. Not too much going to happen yet, though. Nothing really crazy happened on in this early game. There is a lane swap, though, coming out from VP, it looks like.
Save you.
Yeah,
Oh,
and
they're going for
continuing
invade,
to
too.
try to invade this upper jungle. Yeah, Power of Dreams and Liquor gonna walk
Oh,
right
Steve.
into Steve. There's that extra attack damage from the Eye of the Storm. Steve gonna take a lot of damage while minions are pushing into the wave. And more importantly, this stops this jungle double, the double jungle strategy that TBS was trying to pull off, and forces both Sean's and Steve to the other side of the map.
Yeah, and in addition to that, Lune and Nono have already taken the Gromp, so they can't even go for the camp they'd really like to go for. And as a result of this, I actually like what they're doing here. They're going for an invade. Even Lune is going for this. They're trying to put some pressure into the enemy jungle. Unfortunately, a ward spots them out. Look at how far behind TBS's top and jungle are right now. They have just been forced to wander around aimlessly for the first 2 minutes of the game.
Yeah, specifically Lunette, he was forced to tank up the Gromp there while No DPS'd it down, and he took a ton of damage from that, so like you said, forced to recall, not able to stay out there. Now Sean's isn't actually super far behind because he did get solo experience for that blue buff, so he'll actually hit level 2, no, I guess he didn't get solo experience for that, never mind. Almost at that level 2, Steve stealing a little bit of that XP for himself.
Yeah, I mean, it's weird as well that Lune decided to tank up that Gromp, because obviously as Soraka you can heal your ally, but you can't heal yourself, so he could have maybe made Nono tank it up, and as they were aware of the fact that there's a lane swap happening due to the time at which VP invaded the double jungle, they would have been able to just heal up Nono once they got back to lane. Deciding not to go for that was a very interesting decision, and as a result of that, at the very least, Nono is getting some solo lane experience here, which is useful, seeing as Vincent Vega is also getting that.
Now, traditionally, you pick Caitlyn so that you can win a 2v2 matchup just because of her very long range and early harass capabilities, but interesting to see that used in now a 1v1. Caitlyn versus Malphite, not a lane. You see a lot. And once again, Thunderbot, we have this support and top lane versus support and AD carry for Virtus.Pro, and the question becomes once again for me, how is the mid lane going to work out, because that's the matchup that completely defined game number 1.
I mean, Peter Poker isn't doing too bad right now, but he's struggling with mana. Obviously, Xerath has the ability to get some of that back through his passive, but at this point, I can't imagine him sticking around too much longer. He's going to have to go back at some point. He is going back now, in fact. But, you know, I imagine, yes, we're probably going to see Astari winning that out in the long run, unless we see some really nice plays from Peter, or maybe some really nice ganks from Mirror End. But, oh man.
Oh, Chain
Peter.
gonna land, but it's not gonna latch, and that actually would have done so much extra damage to the sigil of Malice on there. With Creeps actually popping that passive for Astari, he'll be a little bit more vulnerable to being baited or taken down here. Although Mirror End probably not with a whole lot of kill potential waiting off to the side. Primarily waiting for a counter gank more than likely, but that's actually going to be a gank coming in top.
Yeah, I mean, Sean's wanted to go for it. He's not going to be able to get too much here. Obviously, Vincent and Liquid have a good ability to get away. Lunette actually taking a lot of damage, obviously, in a situation like this. I don't think they can go all in, but you really want to be putting the damage on the Soraka, not the Maokai, because Lunette can't heal himself.
Yeah, kind of a weakness there. Licorice really putting that pressure on specifically. Always up there harassing. Vincent Vega doesn't carry. He's just always walking forward. Not afraid to buckshot right in Steve and Lunette's face because he knows he has that support and disengage. But more and more Lunette feeling some struggle as he bought 4 health potions or biscuits and is now down to only 1 with 1 burning right now, so you can really tell a lot of pressure being forcing its way through that sustain with more and more onto this turret, taking it down to about 2/3 HP.
Yeah, VP is doing a really nice job so far in the laning phase, and you know, Mirror End, he just wants to make sure that this top lane goes the way they want it to, spending some time camping up there. Mirror End, actually, something we saw in the last game as well, is that he has a lot of patience when it comes to waiting for ganks. He just sits around and makes sure that if Sean's appears, he can deal with it. We are going to see a pause real quick, but, you know, I like the way that Mirror End is playing this, actually, because if you look at their comp, they're going to do a little bit better in the later game, especially if TBS doesn't get ahead. Soraka isn't that potent if you're not ahead. So by trying to focus on allowing your lanes to, you know, do well, Mirror End is actually investing a lot into the late game as a result of that.
Well, for right now, the late game will not be coming anytime soon because, oh wait, there is the pause. So, this is our first pause of the game, so I guess we should consider ourselves somewhat fortunate. And honestly, it hasn't been all that eventful of a game so far. It's only 6 minutes in, and I think the biggest discrepancy comes from the top lane after that terrible level 1 for Thunderbot Sparta has put Steve behind 20 CS already.
Yeah, and it's going to be really hard for him to repair that just because of the fact that he's up against this duo. Power of Dreams on the flip side, he's in a 1v1 situation. Yes, it's against Caitlyn, who can bully him a lot, but Power of Dreams wants to be building armor a lot of the time, so he's going to be able to itemize nicely, and basically after his first back, it's going to be pretty difficult for Nono to make an impact in that lane. So I wouldn't surprise me too much to see TBS try and swap this up and send the duo versus the duo as soon as possible, because it's like you were saying, you pick Caitlyn because you want to win the 2v2.
Although I would say that as much as you want to win the 2v2, winning or at least getting an advantage in your other solo lanes is almost as good. Specifically, Steve being so far behind, he is not going to be relevant, specifically at this big first dragon fight that's really going to define a lot. So I'm a little bit hesitant to talk about the team fight capabilities of Thunderbot Sparta just because of how far behind Maokai is. And that's why he has the support from Lunette up top lane trying to help him out, which is okay because Nono's, has a favorable lane matchup by himself, but is it helping Nono or roaming to the other lanes just because of how weak Maokai is?
Yeah, I mean, that's basically the crux of the issue, and Maokai is doing a really respectable job in this lane. If you look at his CS compared to Nono's, it's only about 10 behind, even though he's a melee champion. And he hasn't, as I was saying, he hasn't had an opportunity to buy anything yet. Once he picks up some armor, which he likely will do early on, he's going to be very strong against any ganks coming in from Sean. He's going to be strong against Nono in lane. And at that point, I feel like swapping it up so Steve is against Power of Dreams would actually mean that due to the itemization choices of Power of Dreams, Steve would actually be able to win that lane, potentially, even though he's a little bit behind at the moment, so long as he gets a little bit of assistance from Sean's.
Assistance, yeah, sure, but let's just be honest. The thing that defined the last game was Virtus.Pro here, and I'm watching this game for him because I want to know what he has in store. And so far, it has been the ability to out-CS a LeBlanc, Starry, out-level him as well, and really just win that mid lane in a matchup that should be going against him. So kind of interesting to see whether or not that's going to work out, or at least how it's going to transpire. But because this is a little bit more of an extended pause, I think we're actually going to take a brief break. So I'm going to put up some music here in just a minute. And just kidding. Thunderbot reconnecting. He knew it. He knew we were running out of things to talk about. He's like, what if I just decided to come back into the game right now?
It's always the way it is, man. It's the Casper's curse. Anything you say can and will be wrong.
It's just going to be the opposite of that. Here we go. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, and we're back in the game.
All right, well, talking about this mid lane and how Peter has actually managed to do quite well, I would attribute a lot of that to the fact that Mirror End camped near that lane, even though he didn't go for anything. It allowed Pietra to push further up than he otherwise would have been able to. And Astari, he's no fool. He realizes that Pietra is playing more aggressively than he otherwise should have been able to. And as a result of that, he couldn't go in. But he's going in now. Ooh, barrier burn.
Yeah, big barrier there. I think Pietra was expecting a little bit more and didn't get as much as he thought was coming his way.
Yeah, I mean, it's definitely not good for him that he's burned that, because now Astari, that Mimic cooldown is not very long. As soon as it's up, we can easily see an attempt at a kill coming out. It's a 39-second cooldown at rank 1 right now, without any cooldown reductions. So, Astari, he is suddenly flipped into the driver's seat purely because of that mistake coming out of Pietra.
Well, for right now, like you said, the mid lane mistake is going to be big, but what I want to see is whether or not BRN can actually make that work in his favor. Maybe say, all right, we know Astari is coming in for some aggression. Maybe camp that lane out like he was doing earlier on, and maybe make Astari pay for it. But either way, we'll be keeping an eye on that mid lane, and you can see Peter Poker really playing this as safely as far back as he possibly can, knowing that not having flash or barrier in that, or rather barrier in that matchup is really going to make him a lot more vulnerable.
Yeah, it's going to make him a lot more vulnerable, especially when you got Lee Sin on the enemy team. As a jungler, he has got the ability to come in there and really make his life difficult. He's looking to do it right now, actually. Here we go. Oh, good flash.
Lee Sin in there too, yeah. No flash for Virtus.Pro here as he was forced to use that. Great gank there by Shawns, and honestly, we were just talking about how likely it was that you would see pressure come mid after burning that barrier and really making Virtus.Pro here a lot more vulnerable than he was used to being after playing aggressively so early, just because Mirror End was camping his lane. But let's talk about what's going on else. What else is going on the map? There we go. So we saw early game not go well for Steve at all, and he's still now dropping further and further behind in that matchup. When do you think that's really going to come into play? Is it at the first dragon fight? Because neither one of these teams really seem concerned about that objective.
Well, I think, you know, part of it... Oh, wow, Vincent Vega getting extruded there. Actually took a lot of damage. You know, we were talking about the lane swap coming back the way where No goes and joins Lunette. I think that was a great decision. Look at already how much pressure they put down onto Vincent. And Power of Dreams, he is kind of struggling against Steve straight away, even though he's ahead, because he built the cloth armor, and that's completely useless against Steve. He's doing a lot of AP damage. So this was a nice swap, and I think as a result of that, Steve is not going to be that far behind when it comes to this first dragon fight. So long as it doesn't happen within the next maybe 1 or 2 minutes, I think Steve is going to be just as much of a force to be reckoned with as Power of Dreams.
Alright, well, you heard it here first, and if Steve has no impact on this game, I expect lots of angry tweets going to Sigilis about how he deceived us with his analysis, but it's entirely possible. Steve, you know, all he has to do is just build tank items, stand in front of the carries, and let them DPS, so it's entirely possible that he does come back in a way that makes him a little bit more useful than he's been so far. Pieter, the pressure is still continuing there. It's not letting up at all, and continuing to see champions like Shawns Lee Sin camp out that mid lane and try to put more pressure onto Pieter, just to make sure that he doesn't become that 10-0 and 11 Cassidy.
Yeah, I mean, that was disgusting the other game, but if you look at his bot lane, look at how much damage they just did to Vincent. Soraka actually hitting fairly hard with her Equinox there. It did a good amount of damage, and of course, Vincent, he wants to be standing on you, relatively close range to get that buckshot off, but if you do that, it's really easy for Lunette to land a good Equinox, root you up, and then have No just turn around and abuse that. So this is a really good swap back by TBS, I feel, and they're making a lot out of it. Mid lane, look at how frequently Shawns is there as well. He really wants to make something happen, but this time, Mirror End's nearby.
Beautiful insect there, or rather as Chris with a kickback. First blood there for his Starry, but Mirror End's coming back in with a counter kill. So that's the counter gank, but didn't wind up saving Virtus.Pro here. Did a good job picking out Shawns though. So overall, I want to say that's maybe a win for Virtus.Pro, but it might actually go back towards Thunderbot Sparta now that Astari has started to pick up his first few kills.
Yeah, I mean, the problem with that for Virtus.Pro is that Mirror End does not really do as much as Astari does. Obviously, Astari being on that LeBlanc, the AP carry, going to be doing tons of work as we proceed forwards. And of course, when you've got someone like Soraka on your team, that's what you want. You want one of your carries to be really big, so you can just keep healing that one person and keep trying to protect them. But on the flip side of that, Mirror End might be able to make something happen in the earlier game, because that's when Pantheon tends to shine, and he has got the opportunity to try and do something. Steve in this top lane, he's actually, you know, doing a decent job of CSing against Power of Dreams right now. Starry, ooh, that is a lot of damage.
Oh my goodness, yeah, Virtus.Pro here. One combo, and he's down to half HP, and sure he has biscuits to sustain himself up in the lane, but with the Morellonomicon completed, that is a huge power spike for Astari. And we've already talked about how that lane matchup is not going to go in VP's favor, so you can really see it's continuing to be pressured on. Dragon now maybe started. Sean's more just using his mobility to get back towards Lunette on his side of the map.
Yeah, and decent job there by him knowing that he could just jump into that pit to get away. And I think it would be unwise for TBS to go for this dragon without picking up a kill first. The problem for them is that in lane, yes, they've got a pretty big advantage right now. Istari, he's dominating Peter Poker in the mid lane right now, and in the bot lane, Nono is doing a really good job of poking out Vincent Vega. The problem is as soon as that turns into a proper fight, and you can't edge out damage slowly, that's when the burst coming out of Vincent Vega and the burst coming out of Petra is actually going to make more of a difference. They are much stronger in an early fight than they are in early lanes.
Well, now that we're actually transitioning out, whoa, here comes Istari, a little bit of a stun, but will connect with the chains out of lockdown. Pietro here will auto attack, seal the deal. No, he'll actually turn things back around with a Rite of the Arcane. Istari, this is fancy feet, dodging things out, maybe setting up for Mirror End, but there is Sean's. Might have baited his teammate into death, but a beautiful Dragon's Rage under the turret and a double kill for Sean's on his Lee Sin.
Maybe Lee Sin should have got banned out here by Virtus.Pro. Sean's is really good on that champion, and that was insane managing to pick up both of those kills. Now would be the opportunity to either go for the dragon or maybe push down this mid tower. It looks like they want the mid tower a bit more, which I think is a decent call, but wow, what a play. The bait there by Istari was really nice.
Now Nono in the bottom lane taking a ton of extra damage. Lunette's actually the one to drop low off of that. Ace in the hole is coming out, but it's only just going to be used to trade there, and Thunderbot Sparta picking up their first turret of the game and just really as much as they could possibly want. This is a big change from game one with Thunderbot Sparta already ahead in just global control and specifically pressuring that mid lane.
Yeah, they're doing a great job there. Now that the tower has fallen, it will allow Petra to farm a little bit more safely. The problem is that it's also going to give room for Istari to roam around and make plays elsewhere. That is exactly what VP do not want. They do not want Istari to come down to this bot lane where Vincent Vega is constantly low due to the poke coming out of Nono. They don't want Istari to go to this top lane where we've got a Power of Dreams who's built the Sunfire and another Cloth Armor first, because he's just going to take so much damage from that. It's really important that TBS on the flip side, though, make something happen with the edge that they just got themselves. Ooh,
Nono, exactly what he's probably saying after that engage. Not something he really wants to be a part of, but you have to give credit to him for at least keeping his pressure on, keeping the CS up. Actually still ahead in that 2v2 matchup, despite how aggressive Virtus.Pro are playing.
Yeah, he's doing a really good job. Part of that is the fact he was in that solo lane earlier on, of course, but mid lane, look at Istari's CS lead. Not only is he the kill up with 2 assists, but he's also about 30 CS above Petra, so he's doing a really nice job. He's got the Needlessly now, probably going to be working towards a DFG, and once he gets that item, man, the hurt is going to be laid down on the Virtus.Pro.
One big thing we haven't seen at all, speaking of laying down hurt, has been Power of Dreams. Neither top laner really impacting the rest of the map with TP just yet, and that is something that both of them can do in a huge way. A Sunfire Cape completed versus the Rod of Ages from for Power of Dreams versus Steve, and honestly, those are things that can totally turn around team fights. With Dragon now being started out by Thunderbot Sparta, could be some big TPs to come in and change this fight around. Not all that much potential as Mirror End is still waiting for an opportunity. Is he going to dive in there? Right of the Arcane, but no chance to steal that away from Sean.
Yeah, I mean, it was hard for them to really go onto that just because of the fact that in the top lane, Steve was fighting Power of Dreams, and if Power of Dreams decided he wanted to TP down, it was going to get interrupted really easily. He might have been able to put some good damage back on Steve, but there was not really a kill potential there, so he wasn't going to be able to get anything out of that. On the flip side, Istari is just so much more powerful than Petra right now, that going for a steal with Rite of the Arcane is pretty much the best case that they could have gone for. So as a result of the fact that that dragon went down to TBS, though, we did see the lanes getting shoved up a little bit, which at the very least means that Virtus.Pro were able to get something out of that in the sense that they got some easier CS rather than being bullied out by their lane opponents.
Virtus.Pro, like you said, about being bullied out by lane opponents. That's something that Pieter actually had to worry about, getting killed twice. But now,
Whoa,
bottom lane, look at that crit on a no-no. Infinity Edge, you can really tell that's what's really changing this up. A nice cancel on that ace in the hole that would have killed Vincent Vega, allowing that team fight to continue. But great play there by Liquid, keeping Vincent alive.
Yeah, and great play by Lune as well. I mean, the heals coming off Soraka are just ridiculous. It's so hard to properly burst through that. And Graves, he actually got really lucky there as well. He's picked up his Infinity Edge. He got a crit at the beginning of the fight, plus the buckshot. Took Nono down to very low health, but just the heals, man, they are ridiculous coming out of Lune. And at this point, it's very hard for Vincent Vega and Liquid to actually make something happen in the bot lane.
Speaking of trying to make something happen bottom, the real thing that's going to do that is a gank, and it hasn't really come in just yet, but Sean's in the mid lane, absolute nothing happening.
Yeah,
I don't think he was in quite as much trouble as he could have been, but there it is, coming bottom. Liquid able to take out Lunette, but now Nono on the run. He's already been smote down there by the Stalker's Blade. Wait, yes. So now gonna get some help from Astari. Arcana Pulse will miss, and with a knock-up there, he's gonna follow it up. There's so much damage, forcing that distortion out. 1, 2, and the last one not gonna hit from that those rights of the Arcane. Thunderbot here, unable to find a kill off of that, but a big collapse here middle by Virtus.Pro, looking to take down this first turret for them.
They should be able to get this pretty easily, to be honest. There's not really the health bars or the number of people available to TBS to defend it. In the top lane, though, does look like Steve is doing a good job. He is going to get that tower. So nice work there. TBS, I still feel like that didn't go as good for them as it went for Virtus.Pro, purely because of the fact that, obviously the mid lane tower is a little bit more useful, and it equalizes that middle lane. So the waves are going to have to be shoved out an equal amount of time for TBS now, which means the Star is going to have a little bit more trouble roaming around.
Speaking of roaming around, Mirror End and Power of Dreams, we get some roam from Steve down from the top lane, see if he can at least disrupt that blue buff. Will be smote away by Mirror End, so at least they deny that from guys like either Power of Dreams or Thunderbot here. So gonna keep that blue buff on the jungle and deny it from going over to the mid lane. Astari looking for a roam down bottom lane. Liquid is waiting to see if anything's coming up the river, but with the ward just perfectly dying in that tribe rush, nobody can see Astari bottom. He is actually gonna go in there. He takes a lot of damage, but with a great Dragon's Rage, he'll be alive. DP coming bottom lane, but it's Astari versus Vincent Vega. A lot of ease there, but a lot of death coming bottom lane as well. Flash out from Liquid. Ace in the hole coming in. It's blocked out by the shield. Chains are gonna latch, and that's Astari grabbing his third kill of the game, actually, in the bottom lane.
Really nice job there, and TBS just abusing the fact that their lane is very strong right now. Vincent Vega, I mean, earlier on we saw him and Liquid get the kill onto Lunette, and that was really nice. They did a great job of bursting her down. But part of the reason they could do that was the fact that Pantheon man dropped behind, and there was no escape route for Thunderbot Sparta. This time, though, oh man, Mirror End might get Lunette here.
Yeah, Lunette kind of walking the wrong way there. While he will be able to escape with a flash over the wall, will this be enough to follow it? One in, there's the right of the Arcane to pick up the kill. Like we said, that Pantheon Xerath combo really good at landing those long range shots, and able to pick up the third kill of the game for VP.
Yeah, that was really nice by Lunette to actually get the silence onto Pantheon there. Had that not happened, then he would have, not necessarily been able to get away for so long and burn both the right of the Arcane and the Flash by Mirror End. Not having those available with Dragon up a minute is actually quite a big deal. So potentially they can make something happen as a result of that. VP, though, doing a good job of pushing down this bottom tower. There's still one tower behind, but really this game is quite close at this point.
A lot closer than I would have necessarily expected, but backing on a ward's going to stop Thunderbot here with the ace in the hole there. So no around for just a little bit longer, but there's a lot of damage on him. Malphite ults himself out of there, and I think that actually was just in time to stop the redirection from Sean's Dragon's Rage. So Sean's tried to kick him while he was ulting backwards, and it's an unstoppable force. You can't change that trajectory. Great job by Power of Dreams using his ultimate to cancel out Sean's.
But the problem now is that Dragon is spawning in 10 seconds. We don't have Unstoppable Force. We nearly have right at the Arcane. That'll probably be up. But we're also missing some things like, oh, Liquid!
Not going to be able to use that Tempest to great effect, but not willing to overchase. Sean's disengages, realizing what's important. That is the Dragon. Dragon number 1 went over to the Thunderbot Sparta, and they'll pick up the second one uncontested.
Yeah, very difficult for VP to do anything about that. Power of Dreams was forced back, didn't have Unstoppable Force, didn't have Teleport. Mirazen didn't have Flash, so if he Grand Skyfalled in, he was committed. And similarly, there was nothing much coming out of Peter at this point. He's not really hit the point where he can poke and be that effective, so TBS abusing their power spike right now. They've got LeBlanc and Lee Sin roaming around and making stuff happen. On the flip side, VP are doing an okay job of capitalizing on overextensions, but Liquid just coming in. I don't know if he realized Astari was there.
Man, he backed off just in the nick of time to avoid being caught there by that chain, and so, well, very, very close call, but unfortunately for Thunderbot Sparta, a 3-real chain will not hit. So, for the time being, we have a relatively even game, only about a couple thousand goals separating both teams, and even Dragon's not all that impactful in the game just yet, only 2 having gone down. So let's talk about the power picks and what's coming out. Some items being completed. Static Shiv. They're complete on top of the Infinity Edge for No. Vincent Vega not quite there just yet. Right as I say that, he buys the item. So there you go. Big difference, of course, in the mid lane in the opposite way that we saw in Game 1. This time it's Sari who's put up some big numbers, 3-0 and 2 with a Death by Grasp already complete.
Yeah, Starry is really the star player at the moment on TBS. He's making all of these picks possible. Him and Sean just roaming around doing a lot. VP, though, they just picked up the 3rd tower of the game. They're not slouching too badly here. They're only about 2k behind. Obviously, dragons don't count for your gold anymore. So realistically, 4.19 standards, they're a bit further behind. But they're doing a nice job of making sure that they don't lose too much. And, oh, Steve.
Yes, speaking of which, oh, yeah.
Yeah,
there's gotta make sure you stay safe and sound. But yeah, like you said, the rotational play is what is going to define this game. And Thunderbot Sparta is completely out-rotating Virtus.Pro. VP were pushing top lane, and then all of a sudden, everybody from Thunderbot show up mid, and they're just like, wait a second, we gotta get back to base. That'll be the first second-tier turret of the game going down in favor. Thunderbot Sparta ahead 4-3.
They didn't realize they were on a ping for a while, and now Power of Dreams coming in. Don't think they're going to get anything good. Disengage. Grand Skyfall, though.
And it's coming right on top of Lune. It's going down. Pietro Pokier taking out that kill, and great Skyfall there to pick up a kill on Soraka. So at least one, a few things coming back VP's way. As they grab a kill onto the support, but what can they do with this?
This is the problem. They got that kill in their jungle, and it's early enough in the game that Luna's going to get back to the action fairly quick. They've also got Steve pushing in that top lane. That's going to demand a response relatively soon from VP. Steve's actually coming across, but the wave is fairly big there for TBS. So they got the kill, yes, but they couldn't capitalize on it. There's no dragon, and it was too far away from any towers for them to push.
At this point, with one game in the bag for Virtus.Pro, if TBS lose this game, then they'll be dropped down to the losers bracket. Virtus.Pro, like we said, will advance to face either Aces High or Roxkiss.
Oh, it's the
result. Bottom lane, Vincent Vega takes both chains through the minion wave. And that's what's impressive about that. Astari kind of threading the needle and picking up a kill because of it.
And Vincent Vega burned heal and flash in that, even though he was pretty much guaranteed to be dead. That's a big deal. Those aren't going to be available for the next fight, and he needs those in order to deal with the fairly hard engage coming out of TBS. You got Steve, who's going to Twisted Advance in there. You got Sean's. He's going to Resonating Strike, try to kick you away. You got Astari, going to be distorting onto you. Not having heal and flash to reposition is a big deal, and he doesn't have a huge amount of peel except for that Janna.
And Janna really wasn't with him. He was off farming a safe lane, and Astari was able to get there. Time to take him out, but now Power of Dreams in a little bit of a rough spot. Gonna get locked up there by Maokai. Probably should have denied that Twisted Advance by going for the Unstoppable Force, but now he's just gonna get Twisted Advance again. And No coming up behind. It's 5 top. Trying to take him down, ace in the hole. Gonna be finishing the job.
Nice job by TBS to get that pick, and this is a situation that really sucks for VP because they can't capitalize on the fact that there are 5 members top. Their bot lane's being pushed in, their mid lane was being pushed in, there's no dragon available, they can't do anything. The only thing that they could have done is go for the enemy blue, and they didn't know that it was up. So, really, it's a hard situation. Oh, Peter needs to be careful there. That could have been dangerous if Astari had been around. Going for the ultimate in a spot like that where you don't really have too much vision is a very risky play.
He was trying to, yeah, scout out with it, but you don't want to do that right next to a wall with, like you said, without that vision there. So the struggle right now becomes, how do you use this Malphite? Power of Dreams has been the least active Malphite I've seen in a very, very long time, because you expect them to be teleporting bottom lane, you know, TPing into dragons to turn the tide of big team fights, but honestly, we haven't really even seen too many team fights, as TBS has been mostly just Sari and Sean's, you know, kind of the duo running around causing most of the havoc this game. And in fact, they have 6 out of 7 of their team's kills, so you can really tell where all that action's been centered.
Yeah, and we're going to see some more action centered here around Dragon in a second, because in 5 of those seconds, it is spawning. So, you know, we do see a teleport available for Power of Dreams. He is going to have Unstoppable Force out in time, but can Virtus.Pro straight up teamfight right now? TBS are fairly far ahead.
VP do get a ward over the wall, but not going in for the steal. It's going to be Dragon at number 3. For 5% movement speed on Thunderbot. Sparta Asari is going to distortion over the wall. And even though there isn't a Sivir on the team, Thunderbot Sparta are still on the hunt. And they are looking bottom lane for Vincent Vega. The rest of his team will rotate down there. And a second tier turret down to below half HP. The next target on Thunderbot Sparta's list.
Yeah, and I like what they're doing here. TBS sending Steve away from this lane. He's going to go try and push somewhere else. They don't need to 5v5. They're weaker in a 5v5. You know, if Unstoppable Force hits a decent amount of people and Astari can't get onto Vincent Vega because of a good monsoon, then it's entirely possible for Virtus.Pro to win a fight. But in a situation where they split push, Steve is doing a lot more than Power of Dreams right now, and it's very hard to actually engage on the TBS because they've got a lot of mobility. They can get away from stuff. Power Dreams actually getting caught out here. Whoa!
And that's one way to pick up a shutdown. Another last auto attack from Nono is actually going to crit him down, but look at the damage. Nono will get exhausted. Right of the Arcane trying to take him out, but some great dodges and a 90 caliber net over the wall, still keeping him alive. Steve in there probably will die as Vincent Vega takes him out, but overall just great positioning by Nono. In the end, it just was not enough. He's in the hole on the mirror and will take him down and make it a 2 for 3. Great job there by Nono in that fight, but almost want to say even better from Virtus.Pro. They were able to take out Asari even right as he was trying to get in the fight.
Vincent Vega needs to be careful about chasing on Nono here. He is 2 levels up on him. He's got 50 more farm and 3 kills. That's not necessarily a fight you want to take, especially when your collateral damage is on cooldown. But yes,
he's also down a Last Whisper too, so that's a big item spike. And look at that, a Spectre's Cowl grabbed by Nono. Some early defensive stats just to try to save his life a little bit more.
Yeah, I think this is a really nice pickup. He kind of needs a Banshee's Veil against this team, because if Unstoppable Force does land on him, he is in a world of hurt. It's going to be hard for him to get away. But talking about that fight that just happened, that was actually pretty nice by Power of Dreams, and it shows one of the issues with Soraka, in my opinion. Equinox is a good skill, unless you walk out of it. So VP is completely, like, Power of Dreams stepped out of the Equinox, and he's like, oh, I can cast spells again. Great Unstoppable Force onto both the carries of Thunderbot Sparta, and Astari got melted so quickly in the duration of that knockup, just because Vincent Vega, collateral damage plus buckshot, is a lot of damage.
I feel like that is somewhat of an understatement, but you get the idea. It's still going to be some pain for Thunderbot Sparta. I'm sure maybe a little bit of damage coming their way is physical, but honestly, after that 10, 0, and 11 cast-in game this Kids or Poker put out, I wouldn't fault them for building some magic resistance at all. So the struggle right now becomes how to utilize this Power of Dreams. Walking into a 1v2 is Starry trying to catch something out, grabs a chain onto Liquid, but won't follow up with it. Power of Dreams actually really tanky. He's gone for the this is like a season 2 Malphite build where you grab the Abyssal Scepter on top of Sunfire Cape and then get Thornmail, so that the magic damage that Thornmail deals is actually greater thanks to the lower that mirror, and gonna ult in onto this fight. Lunette in a dangerous spot is gonna get burst down there. Look at the Malphite ult onto the back line. No just doesn't know where he's supposed to go. He can't peel this Malphite out. He's just too tanky. Virtus.Pro here trying to get the damage down onto Astari, but Astari's actually the one to disengage himself. Finally taking down Virtus.Pro here, but a triple kill in the back of that for Vincent Vega and a 4-for-1 overall.
That fight was really bad for Thunderbot Sparta. This is the problem with picking a Soraka. If you're not far enough ahead, that whilst the enemies are focusing to do something else, it's not a very useful pick. Right there, we saw both Mirror and Vincent Vega collapse on the Lunette and get the kill early on. Astari went on to Petra and did manage to pick up the kill, but because that was all they got, whilst Lunette was being hardcore focused, Power of Dreams was able to zone out Nono, and then a great chase onto him with the cliff drop from Vincent Vega was enough to pick up the kill. Virtus.Pro starting to take command of this game. They're still behind in gold, they're still behind in dragons, but with this Baron buff, they can start pushing, and they need to start doing that soon. All the Banshees actually got completed there by Nono. That would have made a lot of difference in that last fight. It would have stopped Power of Dreams from really collapsing onto him. And, you know, the same amount there. Sean's trying to steal away the red buff, not able to get it. We're going to see another pause.
So yeah, small pause in there. Apparently we had Istari DC, I believe. So we're looking to get him back into the game as quickly as we can. But yeah, like you said, the Banshee's Veil is a big deal in this team fight, because if you have Banshee's Veil up, Power of Dreams just has to look at you angrily because he can't use the Unstoppable Force to get it on there. Sometimes you can throw out a I forget what, Seismic Shard, I believe it is, to break the Banshees and then go in onto that, but still having some issues with connections will delay our theory crafting for just a little bit. But we are 33 minutes into the game, although to be fair, this is about the most even game that we've seen all day. Only about 300 gold separating both teams here at the 33-minute mark.
Yeah, I mean, the big problem for Virtus.Pro, this sort of invisible power that you can't see on the side of Thunderbot Sparta, is those dragons. Having gotten 3 of those and not a single one on Virtus.Pro is actually kind of a big deal, especially as you go into the later game. You really need at least that 6% damage.
Yeah, at least one dragon just to kind of equalize that. And like you said, late game, you get a ton of AD and AP. You're going to need the dragon to buff it up. But at the same time, I'm glad that we've started to see Power of Dreams have a big effect in these team fights. He's finally made his way out of the top lane, which took him a while, yes, but he was able to get a great Unstoppable Force onto the back line. Ground Slam really sliced Nono's attack speed down and just could not peel the Malphite off the back line. And Thunderbot Sparta paid for it. I think it was a 1-for-4 exchange. In the end. So VP, and they did this in game number 1 too. They might have a small deficit, but their team fighting is just so crisp that TBS having some struggles dealing with it when it comes to the 5v5.
Yeah, I feel like TBS really need to dedicate some time to protecting Lunette in fights. She doesn't do anything while she's running away dying. All she does is throw down an Equinox, and that gets moved over pretty quick. The power of Soraka comes if she survives long enough to heal up someone else. Last fight, she didn't, because no one was helping her escape. If we maybe saw Steve kind of protect Lunette, Nono was doing a good job by herself surviving, because it was only against Power of Dreams. Everyone else was trying to kill Lunette. So if they focus on defending Lunette instead of Nono, maybe they could actually turn the fight around after Lunette gets far enough away that she can go back and say, okay, I'm going to start healing you guys.
Well, regardless of that, the biggest problem so far is, well, for Thunderbot Sparta is how do you peel for your backline for Virtus.Pro? It's really like, how do you keep your mid laner alive? Virtus.Pro here at a rough lane phase, that's for sure, but has started to remedy that by kiting backwards a little bit further. And Vincent Vega in these last few fights has just been going off. Triple kill in the last one, and just really putting up some big numbers. So it's kind of alternating. One time Virtus.Pro is the game carrier, and this time Vincent Vega really kind of stepping up and taking charge.
Yeah, and we really need to see a Zanya's from Petra. He needs it in order to deal with Astari's burst, and if he times it right, Astari has got decently long cooldowns. Obviously, he's itemized some cooldown reduction, but still, if you can survive the first rotation from the LeBlanc, that's your opportunity to turn around and put some damage back. So Petra, at the moment, isn't doing a great job, like you were saying, of surviving. A few more items into the future, and he's going to be doing a perfectly fine job of surviving, though.
And that's one of the reasons that I like to see the Banshee's Veil completed early for Nono, maybe before he needs it, because he could keep building some damage items in there, look for a Bloodthirster, because actually right now he has no sustain other than the 3% lifesteal from his Doran's Blade. But the big deal is that he's going to be dealing a lot of damage, not taking a lot of damage, and has that Banshee's Veil spell shield to keep him safe from any super hard engages, like from Mirror's End or Power of Dreams. Either one of those guys really want him dead, so... Kind of a rough idea of how the next team fights are going to go. Really depend on Power of Dreams getting in there and being a big menace, and maybe Steve doesn't hard engage and stays back into the back line of the team fight to try to keep Nono alive, because Istari and Shawns can draw enough attention towards themselves that Nono just has to be effective, and Power of Dreams doing a great job at stopping him from doing that. But to summon the game to unpause, I'm actually going to say that we're going to take a quick break and throw things to some music, which inevitably will mean that the game will actually unpause here in just a few seconds. So stick around, guys. We'll be right back as soon as the game unpauses. Thanks for watching.
jump higher.
Monsters live inside our souls, waiting to come alive, turning our hearts cold. My blood is black, it seeps through the cracks. If I could take it back, if I could. Fighting love that runs through our veins is an empty space, a lonely game. I hear you cry every night in my dreams. I'll take it back, my Valkyrie. to right this wrong. I promise here and now, I loved you all along. I threw away my crown, I lost my sanity. You're my king. I'll bring you back, my Valkyrie. You're coming home, never lost hope.
The saga begins. Begin war. War. Begin war. 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 Begin war. War. The saga begins. Begin war. War. Begin war. War. The saga begins. Begin war. War. Begin war. 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 Begin war. War. Begin war. War.
Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, from LOL Pro League. We are back, but unfortunately, we'll be playing a 4v5 as Thunderbot here is unable to join the game. Is unable to connect to the server, and so for time being, it's going to be Virtus.Pro in a 4v5. Just as their comeback started to mount, things not looking too good here. They do have Baron buffs, so that'll give them a little bit of pushing power. We'll see what they can do being a man down.
Yeah, I mean, the Baron is really the saving grace for them here. This might buy them enough time for Pietro to actually fix his issue. He's got an issue with his video card. But if he can't solve it, this is going to be a very uphill battle for VP. The good news is, next game they're allowed to use their stand-in player, their substitute player, and they are already a game up. So they're not losing the series even if they lose this game. But look at this. Dragon. Easiest dragon in TBS's life. I mean, basically VP can't lose the base, right?
And keep in mind, this will help them destroy turrets now that they're picking up this buff. It's 4th dragon of the game, only one more before they hit that 5 dragon power spike that is just so incredibly strong. But for right now, TBS 5-man strong, like we said, going to be looking for maybe not the Baron because it's already been taken, but certainly going to be attempting to push in using their 5-on-4 advantage.
Yeah, and actually they swapped the dragon buffs around, so on this patch, that actually gives a minion clear, which is going to be quite useful against the Baron buff
you
minions.
say that, and I believe you. I'm not doubting you. I'm just saying that the words that popped up said tower destruction. So
that's weird, because if
maybe
you,
they
if
just
you hover
haven't
over
changed
the hover over the icon and look at what it says, actually.
No,
So
I totally agree. Yeah, I know they switched things around, so it gives you more damage to minions and monsters. They just didn't change the pop-up over dragons, so I got a little bit of a mistake.
All right, well, in any case, 4 dragons is better than 3, and it's nearly 5. So they're going to be going for some sieging here. Thankfully, whatever lane VP go to, they're going to have Baron buff minions, but look at the stack of minions in the top lane. I don't think it's going to matter with regards to this. They're killing that tower very quickly. TBS just want to end this, get to that next game straight away.
Yeah, pretty ridiculous, although there is a decent amount of wave clear between Pantheon and Power of Dreams just walking forward and hitting it. But like you said, one turret after another is going to fall already. All outer turrets down for Virtus.Pro.
Yeah, and Pietro is a really important member of the composition as well. They're at higher levels of play, obviously, you kind of need everyone, but lacking the burst damage and making it so that Vincent is pretty much the only target that TBS need to go for means it's going to be really hard for them in team fights. They just got to try and weather the storm and get to a point where Pietro can reconnect, or maybe just wear down TBS mentally so that going into the 3rd game, you know, at this point, VP can kind of just mentally check out, right? They can just go between lanes, farm, blah, blah, blah. TBS, on the other hand, they're trying to break the defenses. They're still trying, right? So VP can just extend this game for as long as they want, wear TBS down, and use the fact that they've already got the first game of the series to go to a 3rd game.
Well, I certainly did not anticipate this this kind of a turnaround. I don't think VP did either. Lots of great ward coverage for Thunderbot Sparta as they just continue to increase the stranglehold on the map. Istari coming back from base with an elixir of sorcery. It also helps him deal true damage versus turrets. It helps increase his ability to turret push now with those 4 dragons on there as well. So TBS probably just going to look for a 5-man grouping and attempting to push in using their champion advantage. The wave clear is kind of all that Virtus.Pro have standing between them and a dead base.
Yeah, and the Baron buffs ran out now too, so they don't even have those Baron buff minions, making it hard for TBS to push. At this point, I actually kind of like what TBS is doing here. It's hard to say that in this situation because it's such a weird game, but I like the fact that Astari's kind of just split pushing in the top lane. They don't really need to go as 5 because at most they're only ever going to have a 4v4, and Astari is strong enough that he can 1v1 anyone that comes for him, and even in some 2v1 situations might be able to just get away. So yeah, it's not a bad plan to just send him to the top lane, Baron spawning in a minute, and VP, it's a tough spot for them. They can't afford to have Baron go the way of TBS. I mean, that is just a nail in the coffin. But they can't really go in 4v5 either, especially without the poke coming out of their Xerath player.
Best case scenario is able to reconnect, but unfortunately we used almost 30 minutes of pause time to attempt to get everybody back into the game, and fortunately it was not successful. So problem so far has been you know, how do we deal with the 4v5, but I think it's about to be how do we just survive in the base. I'm not sure really what Thunderbot Sparta are doing right now. They're kind of all over everywhere, not really ever grouping up to push this game in.
I think they just want to wait for this Baron and guarantee it. I mean, you gotta remember as well, TBS are down a game. If they somehow spectacularly make a mistake, that would be devastating. Also, if they go for a push, and let's say it's kind of like a 2-for-3 exchange, but they get an inhibitor, and then Petra reconnects, it's still possible for VP to come back. So by getting the Baron, they're kind of guaranteeing that their push is successful, and they get something without losing too much. And it is going to be up in 10
confused.
seconds.
Yeah, and whoa, we actually have an elixir of sorcery on Malphite as well after completing his Frozen Heart. Power of Dreams is massive, so there's no discounting the power that exists in each individual champion. There's just one less champion for Virtus.Pro. And I think Thunderbot Sparta was just waiting for this Baron to come back up, so they have the increased damage to turrets from the elixirs of sorcery, from elixirs of ruin, from Baron buff, and from having taken down 4 dragons. This is just going to be ridiculously difficult. I mean, you're just going to click on a tower and it's going to take a bunch of damage. Baron going down to Thunderbot.
Yeah, I would actually not be surprised to see, like, No pick up an Elixir of Ruin here. Just because sieging is all they need to do to win, and Wrath doesn't do that quite as well as Ruin probably does. It gives you a lot of percentage damage to towers, so... Yeah, I mean, at this point, Astari is actually taking a red buff. I mean, they can do whatever they want right now. VP hasn't left their base in the last 2 or 3 minutes. Dragons, oh, they're going to get the dragon too. This is going to be 5 dragons for TBS.
They're really so they just waited out for a Baron buff and 5 dragons, and it will be theirs. They will take that one down, and with 5 dragons rather coming their way, the aspect of the dragon is there. It doubles the other dragon bonus and allows you to burn enemies for 150 true damage. That's 50 true damage a second, over 3 seconds. So just ridiculously strong, ridiculously cool. If you look at the tank or the animation effects, there's Elixir of Ruin burning down with aspect of the dragon on Maokai. It's he's just gonna be so huge coming into these fights.
Too bad he's not using the fiery skin. Oh, mirror end. Whoa, buddy. Taking a lot of damage. And now this tower gonna fall. Inhibitor's got to be going down straight away after this. I mean,
yeah, just look at how much damage they do to these turrets. It's actually ridiculous to think about. So pushing through the middle inhibitor, it's gonna go down. And Thunderbot Sparta, 5 dragons and a Baron in their pockets, just waiting for these minions to pile on through to take down the base turrets. We'll see if they can. If this is going to be the end of the game for Virtus.Pro.
So one interesting fact is that obviously the Baron buffed siege tanks can attack from out of range, but in certain circumstances, backdoor regeneration can actually start on the towers, and they'll regenerate the damage that the siege minions are doing to them. So, you know, even though they've got this, TBS still need to make something happen. They still need to go in to actually get the towers.
I actually hadn't thought about that, the turrets starting the regeneration. And base turrets actually do regen pretty quickly, or at least Nexus turrets do. Sean's, though, able to find some melee auto attacks on there, but just trying to keep an eye on him. He's actually taking a little bit of damage, but this turret is dropping very quickly. Gotta keep an eye on it. That Steve is just tanking up this base turret for almost forever. Still at full HP, and one after another. Turret's starting to fall. There is the Grand Skyfall. Mirror jumping in. They're gonna find a kill onto Lunette. Can Virtus.Pro actually win this fight? Answer probably no, as Vincent Vega's gonna go down, and that is gonna be the shutdown. Liquid going to fall, and Virtus.Pro will give up game 2 to Thunderbot Sparta.
Yeah, and really they need to get this stand-in player in for the 3rd game and try and make something happen, because not having Petra at the end there, obviously that was just the nail in the coffin. They'd started a comeback. VP have got to be pretty annoyed about this situation. They got the Baron buff. They were looking like they could maybe come back into it. And then, unfortunately, the disconnect happened. So we're going to be going to a game 3, guys. It's going to be exciting.
So stick around. We'll be right back after a short break with game 3 between Virtus.Pro and Thunderbot Sparta.